Welcome to the first round of the Brewmaster Challenge, fellow wizards. In their fight against the Spiked Scourge, our 8 competitors may need some help. From the future, the brewers were allowed to choose any pre-modern card that is not banned or on the watch list. They were then given 4 days to build an otherwise Atlantic legal 93-94 deck that also includes 4 copies of their chosen card. Remember, the finalists will play best of 5 with all 3 of their brews to see who will be crowned the champion. Let's take a look at the round 1 bracket. In the last episode, Jonas's 70-card welder defeated DFB's Weenie Desolation. This episode will feature Francesc and Mano. Best of luck, brewers. Don't forget to vote for which brew you like best at the end of this video. Hello, Wizard. Tell us a bit about yourself and your magic history before we jump into your round 1 submission.
Right, my magic history is not the most original one. I started playing when Revised came out around 1994. It's about the time Magic arrived to Spain. And I started playing because of a friend mainly, who split his white-red deck. I played white, he played red, he knew what he was doing, and I liked the game. So I got myself some booster packs. I opened my first ever Soul Ring. I fell in love with the card, by the way. I just love it, it's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite card still is and will be Juggernaut.
Oh, okay.
Because 1 Juggernaut, 2 Berserks. It's a kill.
That's true, yeah. That's awesome.
And that's about it. I played for a while. I quit around 98 or 99. If I recall correctly, it was 99. With all the Urza stuff going on, it was not really nice to be playing at that time.
Sure.
Plus, the community was quite unwelcoming and competitive in the bad way. You catch my drift.
Sure.
Then I came back about around 2014 or 2015 because of Popa, but that didn't quite fill me. So I jumped in on old school because I was perusing through my revised card collection. Not really impressive, but I still kept all the cards from that era, not the later ones. And it just occurred to me, and typed on Google, old school Magic, just like that. And I found MG's blog.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It all started there.
Sure, that's a common story. They find the blog and then they can't stop playing, right? Well, yeah, so why don't we jump into the deck that you decided to brew and specifically talk about why you chose the card from the future that you chose.
Okay, so tell me what you'd like to know.
Well, I mean, you can just, tell me, why did you pick this archetype? Your card was Rancor, so
yes.
Why did you choose that card? Is there a reason? Do you like the card a lot? That kind of. How did you find the card? How did you know about Rancor in the first place? That kind of stuff.
Well, I played Rancor. It was one of the cards I played by the time I quit. And in old school, there's a thing I miss greatly, which is trample. If you manage to get your creatures to trample, you'll get your opponent in a big problem. Champ blocking becomes a lot more difficult, and Rancor just does just that.
Sure.
For 1 green.
Yeah, sure.
So as I'm partially known for playing junky builds, mainly because I don't have all the cards. So I play suboptimal options, and I do my own junky builds. I play against the meta, all that kind of fun stuff.
Sure.
And I always wanted to play an Enchantress deck. First thing was to choose the other Enchantress, the one the good one with Shroud and all these things.
Sure.
But you can encant that Enchantress, you see.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a good point.
I got the old one, and I put Rancor in the build, and also slapped in Rabid Wombats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
Because I always love the Wombats. They doesn't tap when attacking. It's just a tiny Sarangel without flying.
Yeah, no, it seems great. I like that it's still very much in the kind of more classic version of the Enchantress deck, right? And yeah, you definitely you went down a different direction. We had a few Enchantress decks in the challenge so far, and this one is definitely unique in that regard. And I think Rancor is really great if you're going down the Rabbit Wombat build, right? I mean, it's definitely
Yeah, and Rancor comes back to your hand if the creature gets killed.
right.
That's a bonus.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
and it has a small. It's less obvious, but it has a small draw engine built in, apart from the Enchantress.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I play with the Mistress factories.
Mm-hmm.
You animate one, it's a creature now. You toss the Rancor in, you draw the card, and at the end of the turn, that Rancor goes back to your hand.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
pretty
it's
awesome.
a kind of 2-for-1.
Right. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I like that quite a bit. Um,
You can do
yeah,
that old school, sadly.
that's pretty great. It's a similar kind of thing. I'm just looking at the rest of the cards in the deck. You can accomplish something similar with the Berserks, right? Because if you could Berserk and you're still going to get back the Rancor too, right? So
Yes,
get your
the
Rancor
Rancor
back.
goes
Yeah.
back to your hand. You play it again. It's if an Enchantress is on the battlefield, you draw a card and you keep bidding and bidding and bidding.
Yeah.
Been testing the deck, made some awesome attacks for more than necessary little. But you see, it's not a weak deck, but it has some really big weaknesses. A mode, for instance, will deactivate it completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Well, you can put some creature enchantments on those birds of paradise, I guess.
yeah, oh, you got me. But
Oh,
it's easier to beat your opponent down beating with a wombat
right.
than with a country bird of paradise.
Definitely, yeah. Um, yeah, it looks like a really cool build, and yeah, a lot of good card choices. Obviously, you have Elves of Deep Shadow along with Birds of Paradise. I think those are all seem like great cards for this type of deck. And yeah, I guess I mean you kind of mentioned the interaction with Rancor and Mishra's Factory. I assume is that like your favorite part of this deck? It seems pretty cool to me at least.
Oh,
So.
no, of course not. My favorite part of
Oh,
the
okay.
deck is swinging for the lethal and berserkering the wombats and doing a complete mess of my opponent.
Sure. Oh, of course, of course.
It all comes from love.
Right, obviously. Yeah. Um, so you said that you were playtesting this a little bit. Were you playtesting against just normal 93, 94 decks, like old school decks?
Yes, but I basically tested it in Force, if you know the APP.
Hmm,
It's just artificial intelligence, not very good,
I see.
but if the deck gets to work under those circumstances, it's good to go.
I see.
I
Okay,
didn't
yeah,
have a chance to play against live players, but I'll get it eventually.
that's okay. That seems like maybe more playtesting than a lot of the other contestants had.
I'm a chunky guy.
So, uh, yeah, so with that in mind, since you obviously haven't played against actual people, what are you worried about having to play against, right? I mean, you don't have a sideboard, so you don't really get to shore up the problems that your deck has, right, in the normal way. So, what are you worried about playing against? What are some archetypes that you think you might have a problem with?
uh, well, control decks can get me in the tight spot.
Mm,
Our counter rancor stays in the graveyard. It doesn't come back.
right.
Uh, control decks have a large pool of removal. So my number of creatures is not that big, you see.
Mm.
I have 4 elves, 4 enchantress, the wombats, and the birds.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a large count, but an earthquake, for instance, can do short work of them, just like this.
Yeah.
And mode, as I told you, you can get your wombats all rigged up with all kinds of enchantments, 100 creature ready to kill mode.
Yeah.
So you need to kill your own creature, not possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Those are the main problems. I imagine I'll be into bigger problems if I ever face an Underworld Dreams deck, because my deck works because I draw a lot.
Gotcha.
Or at least I draw more than the regular deck.
Right.
So Underworld Dreams can kill me before I can do anything.
Gotcha. I don't know. I think I like your chances there, though, a little bit, because we're really against any combo deck, right? Because they probably don't have like a ton of ways to kill your creature, so at least it means your wombat dies less often, right? So that's something.
That's less often. I can always reanimate the little guy and comes onto the battlefield enchanted already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why I added black.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, animate that is definitely an interesting card in these sorts of decks, right? You don't necessarily see that all the time, but I like that a lot. But yeah, on a rabid wombat, right? That's pretty awesome.
Well, it comes in the battlefield, gets -1, -0, but it gets its bonus, and it's a threat already.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's like playing a holy armor on it, right? Or no, holy strength. It's like it has a holy strength on it, right? For free, you get to reanimate him and get a holy strength. That's pretty great.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll sort of close this out a little bit. Is there anything else you want to mention about your deck? Talk about before we close this down?
Well, not really. I think I got all covered here, but I guess I'd like to have the chance to play against my opponent.
Sure.
So we'll have fun there, and that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that
yes, want to get some use.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. That's good. Well, yeah. I hope you make it to the at least to the semifinals, and maybe we can see some games with this thing. And good luck in the voting process.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Wizard. Tell us a bit about yourself and your Magic history before we jump into your submission for round 1.
Okay. My Magic history, I've been playing Magic since almost the beginning, 94. All different levels of competitiveness, from super casual to a few pro tours, but I've gone up and down the spectrum multiple times. Never really quit. Everyone seems to have these, 1 to 10 year hiatuses that I never really had. Maybe I had brief periods where I would go a few months without playing, but for the most part, I've never stopped. And I've found my niche here in old school, modern day old school. It tickles me in all the right places. And, that's my happy place right now.
All right, very cool. So maybe tell us what you decided to brew, and specifically why you chose the card from the future that you chose.
All right, so I actually have thought about this a decent amount. I haven't gone deep or anything before this challenge, but I think it's very clear that the most powerful thing you can do in this space is Voltaic Key with Time Vaults, and you can play 4 transmutes and some reconstructions, and just like, it's very clearly the most powerful thing you can do. And I think it's obvious. I've even talked about it in the past, and I just didn't want to do that because it was too easy and obvious. And so I think once you don't do that, clearly you're not doing the most powerful thing. So you want to aim for something that has the right amount of spice. You want to find that perfect mesh, and it's something that's fun and interesting. And for me, that card was Opposition. It is one of my absolute favorite cards, arguably my favorite card of all time. It's on the short list. And there's a bunch of ways. Really, I mean, to be honest, there's not a lot of ways you can utilize it in old school. There's not a lot of great token makers, but one of the most fun ways I found to use it was Homarid Spawning Bed out of Fallen Empires, which if you don't know what it is an enchantment for 2 blue, and you can pay 2 blue and 1 and sack any blue creature and get a number of tokens equal to that creature's casting cost. So that's kind of the backbone of the deck. It's peppered with a bunch of mostly blue creatures, but there are some other ones for spice. It has, I'll tell you the real quick creature suite. Let's see, the blue creatures are 3 Sinbads, 1 Old Man of the Sea, 1 Time Elemental, 1 Rubinia. I guess everyone can look at these cards, so I don't have to go through everything.
Sure, yeah.
But those are all, like, so that's the engine of the deck, right? There's other ways to get tokens. One is with Thalids. I have 2 Thalids in the deck. Another one is Master of the Hunt, another way to get tokens. Mm-hmm. I have a Miser's Icatian Town. The deck started as just like an Icatian Town opposition deck, but that felt like too obvious and simple, so I wanted to get a little bit spicier. It has 4 birds to power everything out, and obviously are great with opposition late in the game. It has pretty much every restricted card, although I skipped Mind Twist because it's too powerful and not fun, and I wanted to be at least halfway a gentleman.
Sure.
But because this is like a spice challenge, right? So I did play the library because it's just a land and whatever. It doesn't cost me much. But Mind Twist is just the least fun card and arguably the most powerful, so I skipped it. But in addition to opposition and all these tokens, it also has the Sylvan Sinbad engine, which Sylvans in general are okay when you're digging for something specific. And with Sinbad, they're great. Sinbads are also triple threats in the deck. They sack to opposition or to Spawning Bed for more dudes. They tap guys with opposition. They clearly work well with Sylvan. So they're kind of almost the crux of the deck. The 2 Azure Drakes are just like perfect cards. They block. They make 4 dudes later. They're actually the actual perfect card for the deck. Mm-hmm. And that's basically, I have a Miser's Get-In just because I'm playing this kind of mana denial thing in general. But this is where I landed. A couple of other things I briefly considered were Zur's Weirding and kind of a Tax Tower shell, sort of a la the deck that Will Larson and I played last year with 4 Zur's Weirdings. I had a pretty sweet second chance Sylvan Library Skull of Orm brew to just take infinite turns, Sylvan away all your life, and play second chances and return them. But that was a little mana hungry, and I was just like in love with opposition from the beginning. The other one I kind of considered was Miser's Cage. My pet deck forever has been like these mono blue burn decks, right? With like Vices, Ankhs, and Boomerangs, and Psyblasts, and just like playing mono blue burn. And Miser's Cage just gives me the 3rd artifact to kind of tie the whole room together with 4 copies and 4 Boomerangs. And you can really just win with that, right? 4 Ankhs, 4 Vices, 4 Cages, 4 copies, 4 Boomerangs. Like, what else do you even need? That's like, a deck in itself.
I'm the guardian of spicy things, of course, and even I don't know what that card does. So
Miser's Cage?
Yeah.
Amongst having the best name in Magic, it's a poor man's Vice. It's a 3 mana cost artifact that I think if you have 5 or more cards in your hand, you just take auto 2. So it can occasionally be better than Vice. If you have exactly 5 cards, you'll take 2 damage. But in general, it's more expensive and not quite as powerful. But it's just like a poor man's Vice.
Yeah, extra Vices, I see.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I also really love Sylvan Library and Sinbad. That's definitely a very underplayed thing in old school, I think. It's just that a lot of decks don't have the blue-green. They're not in the blue-green space, right? So it's very hard to play that in some places. But it seems great here.
It's perfect. That combo kind of ties the whole room together. And it's like I said, it's a perfect spot for Sinbad, right? It does everything in this deck.
Yeah. This deck also sort of, in certain ways, it reminds me of a Fallen Angel deck. Like, it has a lot of similar cards, except that, of course, like, you can't play Fallen Angel in your deck where you want to opposition them, right? It's like the better route to go, right?
It's funny. I mean, Fallen Angel is kind of a hedge, right? It could be like my 5th opposition or whatever. If I can't draw one, I can just sack all my dudes and kill somebody that way. And I did very briefly consider it. The only cards that I want to show are the actual oppositions. Let me see if let me make sure these go up to the camera right. But they are, let's see. So this is the best one. This is an actual test print opposition.
Yeah.
So it's a white border back.
This
probably is my actual favorite Magic card that I own. It's either this or I have a revised Mind Twist, Wrath of God that split right down the middle, and I played as an actual split card. But this is right near the top for me. And I also played one of the oppositions from, I don't know if you guys have heard about this cube that's going around where like that Marcus Lundquist baby, where he with some other guys, there were a few of us involved, but it was mostly him, kind of redesigned the, a textbook type 1 cube with redesigning all the cards with old borders and like written like as if they were an alpha with just like horrible writing and all that stuff. So it's just gorgeous. And so those are the two of the oppositions that I use, and 2 regular ones to fill it out. But
right, that's amazing. That's very cool. So one other question I thought I'd ask you, as far as the deck goes, what you have a lot of really interesting card choices here, and I feel like there's a lot of different things that can kind of happen. So what is there some most interesting interaction you have in your deck? Something that you think people might want to know about?
Interesting interactions. I'd love for my opponent to play blue creatures, because then I can take them with Old Man of the Sea and Rubinia and sack them to my spawning bed and keep running it back. And in fact, I was close to considering a single Slate of Mine for this deck just to try and do that. But in the end, it just felt like it was a little bit too insane and just dead way too often. So I didn't run that, but I actually seriously considered it. I also have a one of Hazazan, what's his name? Hazazan Tamar, which I don't actually own. I made a proxy for it. And a Caracas to do that combo, just like make a bunch of dudes and reload. Like I feel like if I can do that even once with opposition out, that's probably just a win. Yeah. Those are really the cutest interactions. Everything else is relatively self-explanatory. Sure. I have some late game hedges for, in case I get mana flooded in Master of the Hunt and Homara's Spawning Bat, or like my late game mana sinks, and Armageddon's kind of a mana sink as well. Sure. I have a Miser's Pendlehaven because the deck is full of 1/1s, and the first one's kind of a free roll in a world where I'm not expecting to get Blood Moon very hard, I would think, in this challenge. But I mean, who the hell knows? Yeah. But those are really my biggest interactions, I think.
Gotcha. Well, on that same note of who the hell knows, right? Well, I generally ask questions like, well, what do you think you're going to have a hard time against? What are this deck's problems, right? So you don't know what the future really entails. Each of the rounds will, of course, have different challenges. So, but can you speak to that generally? Like, what do you think this? I realize you probably haven't played very many games of this either. That tends to be a trend with these weird-ass formats that we're playing. But
yeah, I've played exactly 0 games. I have actual no removal, other than I can maybe steal a couple of creatures. Like I have no disenchants, no swords. I guess I have Chaos Orb, but I can't really kill anything. So if they're doing some kind of combo or something that involves permanence, they're probably just going to race me. Also, very clearly, any kind of Wrath of God or even Earthquake, or I guess Balance in a creatureless deck, any kind of mass removal just destroys me. I have 1 mana drain to fight through that. That's it. My deck's just all permanents. I came to do my thing. I hope I can get it off. And if you can do your thing better or harder or first or whatever, you're gonna probably win, because I just can't stop you. But I do think that I can come out, if I can land a quick opposition with a few dudes out, I can lock the game very easily and just kind of run away with it with any number of these different sort of combinations.
I mean, that seems like a fine strategy, especially when the match in the finals, there's no sideboarding, right? You just have to win with each one of your decks. So, you don't necessarily, you're not looking to board in to fix the problems of the deck. You want some proactive plan, probably, right?
Exactly. And while this is not the sexiest version of the deck or the sexiest way to win with it, if the shit kind of hits the fan or I don't get any real combo pieces going, I do just kind of have a bunch of guys. I can just attack you with Azure Drakes and Thalids and take your guy with Rubinia and just play like a generic mid-game attacking creature plan. It's not sexy, but it can win a game in the finals if I had to. So it's like not the worst fallback plan. I'm not just fully all in on drawing opposition. I have at least some guys that can do something.
Sure. All right. Well, do you have any closing remarks? Anything else you want to point out about the deck?
No. I think that was basically it. I strive to hit a nice balance of spike spice and have a deck that's reasonably potent while also being super fun. Because given that I'm not Voltaic keying, everyone's playing for second place, I think. So, clearly power level was not the biggest concern here. So I don't know. I like where I landed.
Yeah.
Opposition is basically my favorite card, and I like to put a lot of thought in each and every spot in this build, even the 61st slot, which was the Hazes and Tamar at the end. I think I like it. I don't know what to say. I'm kind of excited to see where we land and see what my opponent has. I have no idea. I'm very excited for that.
Awesome.
Do you know?
Well,
Do you know what he has? Do you like my chances? You don't have to say what it is. Do you like my chances? Is it gonna be close?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, personally, I like opposition as well. So
you're a little
that's
bit
clouding
biased.
my judgment. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a good even round. So
Okay, awesome.
yeah,
That's what I'm hoping for too. I want it to be a battle. So
sure. All right, well, thanks, Mano, and good luck in the voting round.
thank you very much. Take care.